Hi everybody, welcome to day 3 and the final day of the masterclass on the anxious avoidant trap. Yeah, so just waiting a couple of minutes for people to join. If you're joining, please comment, wave hi, ask your questions, let me know that you're here. It feels much more awesome for me to know that you're here as well. So don't be shy. Say hi. I'm saying hi too. So the class, this master class, what I'm hoping to... Hi, Michaela. What I'm hoping to do with this class is give a presentation of this loop that we get into in relationships. And, show that we're so not alone in this. Hi, Vivi. Hi, Tran. We're so not alone in these deep places of wanting connection and wanting to feel ourselves unwell. And this balance between sovereignty and synergy. Hi, Tanya. And what this journey really is, it's a journey. It's a journey that we're all on. It's a journey of opening our hearts, and it's a difficult one because, as one of my mentors said to me, when there's love, everything that isn't love comes to the surface to get healed through love. Hi, Aubrey. I love these waves. So when there's love, everything that isn't love comes to the surface to get healed through love. And it's a difficult process. In relationships, the biological aspect of relationships is like reproduction and all that jazz, but there's also a spiritual component to it, and that is healing, because how we do one relationship is how we do all of them. It's how we interact with the external. It's the balance between the internal and the external, the synergy and the sovereignty. So today we're going to really look at what is the path of showing up in relationship without this rinse repeat of this loop and these very familiar places, what to do about them. And of course, if I had a 10-step process or a magical wand, I'd be very, very rich and you wouldn't have to do any work, and neither would I. But we have to do our work. So this is like a roadmap. Hi, Shanti. Are you in Hawaii? That's very beautiful. So this is like the roadmap, and when I work with people, we walk this journey. So I hope to give a little bit of a roadmap of how this whole thing works. So let's go back to Jack and Jill. So for the past 2 days, we've been talking about Jack and Jill, who are stuck in the misfortunes of the anxious and avoidant loop, where Jill takes on the anxious polarity and has this feeling of not enough and wants more and more and more from Jack. And Jack has this... is in the avoidant polarity, and his story is that people are always taking from him. He can't be in his... he has to give himself away to be in relationship. And so his strategy is withdrawal. So the more that Jack withdraws, the more anxious Jill gets. And, Jill wants more, Jack withdraws. All this distance gets created, and both people become each other's worst nightmares. So that's the quick rundown, but we talked about Jack and Jill at length the past 2 days. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because when two people aren't feeling safe, they engage their strategies for getting their needs met, which are flawed and they're very young. And each other's strategies become the stories are each other's strategies, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of becoming each other's worst nightmare, when before the person was everything that you wanted them to be, to fulfill your deepest desires and make you feel so, so good and loved. So both Jack and Jill are in their control patterns. Both the anxious and the avoidant are control patterns, the anxious, and again, if you have any questions, just type them and I will read them out loud and try to answer them right away. Both Jack and Jill, they don't want to feel their feelings. And so when these feelings come up, the control patterns get on board, and both of them are trying to control the other, to make the other do stuff so that they feel better. It's like, if only Jack showed up, I would feel at ease, and then I'll give him space, you know. And from Jack's side, it's like, if only she would just give me some more space, I'd be able to show up and be more present. Familiar? Yeah. So both people don't want to take responsibility for their feelings, and the story is, if they change, I will feel better. I will feel loved. You know, if they change, I will feel loved. And this is a very young place. You know, if we look at, you know, last time we spoke, is this new or familiar? You know, if it's familiar, how old do you feel in this place? And this place of how old do you feel can give us a lot of insight. Michaela is asking, can you still be in this avoidant anxious trap if one of the people in the relationship is more secure? Or would you say no one is really secure? Great question, Michaela. I would say that this place of ultimates, like, I'm a secure person, I'm secure attached, that's like a unicorn, and that's more of the destination than the journey. I don't know anybody who's really like secure. Because we're all human, like we all have our stuff, like who doesn't have their own stuff, you know? And stuff comes up in a relationship. That's the whole point of relationship, for things to come up so we can heal it and move and expand. If all relationships are a co-creation, so this is a dynamic. So whenever we say, I'm secure, I'm wonderful, you're insecure, you need to change, that's a control pattern. You know, whenever we want the other person to change, that's a control pattern, right? And whenever one person takes responsibility for their feelings, and this is what the talk like today is about, whenever one person in the dynamic chooses to take responsibility for their feelings and feel their feelings and take responsibility for them, they step more into this place of secure, and that allows the other person to also step into that place. You know, so it's like everybody's like here. If one person like vibrates here, this person has the opportunity to do so as well. So by investing in ourselves and expanding ourselves and upgrading, I mean, I don't like that word, but like doing something different for ourselves, taking responsibility for ourselves, the other person automatically gets that opportunity as well. So definitely one person in the co-creation can choose a more direct, more secure place to go, yeah? And that will allow the other person that as well. So for example, if we were talking about Jack and Jill, if Jill makes the decision, it's like, I am choosing to feel my feelings in this place and absolve Jack from the responsibility for my feelings and set Jack free and back off, you know, and see, this is my feelings. I'm not going to ask Jack to change. I'm going to feel my feelings. Jack automatically gets the space where he can make the decision, having the space of coming back to, coming closer to Jill, because Jack will feel seen and Jack will feel understood, right? By the default of Jill taking responsibility for her feelings, if that makes sense, because he's not being asked to change, if that makes sense. So I hope that replies to your question, Michaela, and if not, you know, we can hop on a clarity call or ask more questions, because we all are in the same boat, you know, the human boat, and we're all experiencing this. So no question is a stupid question because we're all dealing with these things. So, trick question, the $1 million question. What is harder than not getting what you want? We all think that if we get what we want in a relationship, we will finally feel fulfilled, happy, all of our anxious avoidant stuff will go away, and, problem solved, like I'm sparkly and shiny, and I feel infinitely loved. Yeah? So that actually is not how it works. The thing that's harder than not getting what you want is actually getting what we want. Bingo, Michaela. Yes. Getting what we want is so much harder. Aubrey's saying, in the past, I have tried to do things differently by having a conversation about what was going on with me and also expressing that I was working on my own feelings, but I felt like that also scared my partner. Do you suggest being honest about what is going on with you or work on it internally? Really good question. We're going to get to that in just a minute because I feel like that jumps a step of the path that we're going on today. So, being responsible for our own feelings and communicating them vulnerably is the way to go, is the short answer, yeah? And then you get data on your partners. And their feelings, their fear is their responsibility if you're taking responsibility for your own feelings. So getting your needs met is really scary. It's really scary because then we actually have to feel our feelings, I know that it seems like if only we got that perfect person who would check all the boxes and do all the things that I really wanted to, my life would be complete. But, like just working with my clients, it's like my clients who are actually getting what they want and moving into this direction and getting these things that they've always wanted, it's so scary. And I have the same paralyzing fear as well because we have to feel these feelings of what's actually going on inside of us, and we can't blame, shame, or guilt anybody and make them and want them to change to make ourselves feel better, right? Absolutely, Michaela. This is like spot on. So it's like if Jill finally has Jack come closer and be present for her, and Jack is like showing up and doing everything. Like suddenly Jack is not that attractive. Jack can feel needy. Jack can seem needy. And like all those things about Jack were like so cute and like attractive. Those like special quirks are now like really irritating. And then now it's like, oh my God, just back off. Yeah. This is like super common. This is really, really common. And that's the trap. Because when we're in our story, we have our strategies and we attract people that reinforce our story of how to get love. And that story continuously fails. And when we actually start getting our needs met, all these feelings come up. For Jill, for example, if Jack starts coming closer, there might be, and everybody's slightly different about the feelings that come up based on our own inner child wounding and inner child programming. So this is really about digging deep into your own personal feelings. But for Jill, if Jack starts meeting Jill's needs now, Jack takes the first step, and meets her needs, suddenly, a lot of fear might come up of like, oh my God, I got my heart really broken the last time this happened, or, these places of not being loved start really coming up, and a lot of fear comes up. And for Jack, if Jill finally sets him free. A lot of fear may come up. It's really hard because it's like this place of unloved comes up, and it's fear of losing it, fear of losing the love really comes up. So what's the way out? Is this making sense, or is this kind of like making sense? Yeah. So when so like what to do, like how to actually do it, how to get out of this trap. And the way out is feeling these feelings and actually being able to tolerate them. Our feelings, I always put it into the 4 primary feelings. These are the feelings actually that babies, that little children can identify on the facial expressions of their caregivers. So when we're little children, like 0 to 5, 0 to 6, we relate to others in 4 ways: anger, sadness, fear, joy, right? So this is the imprint in our brain: anger, sadness, fear, joy. And all the other feelings that are either substrates or derivatives or combinations of these 4 feelings, these 4 primary feelings. And the more that we know what we're feeling in terms of these 4 primary feelings, the better we're able to understand what's going on inside ourselves, stay in the present moment and not in the stories of the past, the stories that go back to the previous relationship, the relationship before that, the relationship before that, the relationship with our mother and father, all the way back there. So we're able to stay in the present moment, understand what's going on, and be able to stay in connection, and also understand ourselves and maintain our own sense of sovereignty. And we'll get to that a little bit later. So when my clients tell me, I'm like, what are you feeling? How do you feel about this? Practitioners, therapists love to tell people, how do you feel about this? And so when I ask people, how do you feel about this? Hi, Emily. Sometimes people are like, I feel funny. It feels weird. It feels really weird. I'm feeling really irritated. I'm frustrated. It's confusing. So these are all code words for me that the person actually is not in touch with their feelings. These are all, I don't know what's going on inside of me about the situation feelings. So we go in, we energize them through somatic movement, through bioenergetics tools, to really understand what are you actually feeling? How do you feel about the situation? It's not weird, it's not funny. It's anger, sadness, fear, joy. What is actually going on? And can you hold it, So at all times in our life, at any given moment, our emotional body is constantly in a state of anger, sadness, fear, joy, or a combination of them all. And when we cut off one, we cut off them all. So when we have an energetic block that's I don't want to feel my anger, I don't want to feel my anger, I don't want to feel the sadness, we also cut off this feeling of joy that can come on, right? And when we're young, we learn very quickly what feelings are not tolerated by our caregivers. Yeah. So a little baby, baby wants to be comforted for whichever reason, whichever of the gazillion million reasons that the baby wants to be comforted. Baby's crying. I want to be comforted. Nobody's comforting the baby. Mom is tired, cooking dinner, whatever, working. Whatever. We're not blaming or shaming. The baby screams more and screams more, and there's this anger. There's this anger. There's this fear. All these things come up. This baby's screaming, ah! It's shut up, stop crying. The baby really quickly learns that the caregivers don't want you to be screaming bloody murder. They want you to be quiet. And if you're a good, quiet little baby, you might get picked up. Yeah. And of course, it's different for everybody how these things happen and manifest themselves in your own specific relationship as a young person, a very young person with your family of origin. But we learn these strategies about what feelings we can't feel, we don't want to feel. So for example, it's very very common in our society to repress anger, right? Repress anger. Anger is an emotion that, especially for some aspects of our society, is an emotion that is really dangerous to feel. And I just want to touch on this because it's not just our individual stuff, it's like ancestral trauma that we carry. And so when we do this work and we heal ourselves and we allow these blocks to move and this energy to flow, we release a lot of this ancestral trauma. And I really want to touch, it's really, when you do this work, it really becomes apparent like how deep it goes. For women especially, like anger is not something that women have been really allowed to feel a lot. Black people in this country, anger, this is like back to like slave times. Like, you cannot be angry, you cannot express your emotions. This is like really really powerful stuff. I've heard so many people like I've heard many like Black men say that, like, this is really like I am feeling a lot of energy come up around this. Like, the worst thing you can be is an angry Black man. It's like white men have a really good time being angry. They love being angry, or not all of them, but it's not allowed. But it's actually physically dangerous. Like, you can actually get killed by having anger. If you're a person of color, if you're a Black man in this country, for example, put on a hoodie and you're dead. So this is the type of ancestral trauma that we carry when we repress our emotions, carried down generation to generation to generation. Tran is asking, to be a conscious Black man means to be angry every single day. Yeah, I don't know, but because everybody has their own feelings, and I don't know what individuals' feelings are, but it's about being allowed to feel them. And it's not that the anger is the problem. Anger is a really good emotion because it's usually like a door that we can open and find out what's underneath. A lot of times sadness is really underneath anger. But in our society, most of us really have a really unhealthy relationship with it. We either repress it, like what I've been talking about now, repress it, or lash out at other people, right? And that's not what taking responsibility, that's not feeling this feeling, and taking responsibility for it means. So our feelings, they have a lot of intelligence. They guide us home, and they really inform us about where we are in the present situation. But to be able to understand it, we have to feel them. And feeling them sometimes is super, super scary. So, with Jill, if Jill was to take responsibility for her feelings, she would feel her sadness. She would feel her sadness around abandonment, about this deep place of not being loved. And instead of trying to control Jack and maybe lashing out, maybe being like, why didn't you do the dishes? Why didn't you take out the garbage? Or, something. Or why don't you do this or that? Or you. Say, I'm so sad. I don't feel loved. I really don't feel loved. And it's my sadness. And I'm setting you free. You do you. I'm setting you free. It's my sadness. I am going to be responsible for it and meet my own needs as an adult. When we were children, we couldn't take responsibility for our needs. As adults, we can. That's the journey. I don't want to control you anymore. I'm sad because last time my heart was shattered. When I was young, my heart was shattered and nobody supported me. I felt so unloved. But that's mine. That's not you. This is why I'm sad, and I'm setting you free. This is taking responsibility for our feelings. And Jack, if Jack was to take responsibility for his feelings, he'd say, I'm so scared. I'm so scared because when I was young, this is Jack who's done work, who's in a container with, you know, with me, and shows up every week and moves the energy and like understands it, you know. So after doing a lot of work, Jack feels his deep fear. Jack knows that it's like, I have this deep fear because when I was little, to be in a relationship with my mother, I had to really give myself away. It had to be all about her. I had to really give myself away. And I was totally run over and not seen in my own needs. And I am so scared that if I stay in a relationship with you, I'm gonna be run over. But it's mine. It's my fear. It's not about you. And I'm staying. I'm so scared, and I'm staying. And I'm willing to take responsibility for my fear. Is this resonating? Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's hitting some places. Maybe it's going a little deep. In my energy field, it's going really deep today. So let me know if it is for yours as well. So this is, hi, Mimi says yes. Yeah. So, Miguela, hearts. Yeah. And you can actually feel it. You can actually feel in your energy field when you're affected, when this is touching those places inside of you. Yeah, which is what relationships do. And now, you know, we're in relationship right now. We're in a relationship, we're exchanging energy. We're in a container, yeah? So these are really deep places, and they don't feel safe at all, yeah? Why they don't feel safe? Because these feelings don't feel safe. The sadness does not feel safe. This is an abandonment sadness. In our, you know, prehistoric brains, this is sadness that feels like death. You know, I was just talking with I was just on a call with a client, and there was this picture of like being cast out to the wolves, you know, like a really like survival death type of a feeling around the sadness. And it does not feel safe, yeah? And hi, Diana Maria. This fear of being run over does not feel safe. We do not want to feel these feelings. We resort to things we might have, you know, our anxious and avoidant strategies, a mechanism with which we try to not feel these feelings. You know, some of the attachment style like language that you might encounter some places, like regulate, co-regulate, regulate, you know, with a prefix and a suffix. I just talk about it as feeling our feelings. So yeah, so that's what I'm talking about, feeling our feelings. So it does not feel safe. And it doesn't feel safe because we're stepping out of our old strategies of the way that we didn't want to feel our feelings, and we're tolerating them, we're expanding our consciousness around them. And it's super scary. And it requires like to take the first step without trying to control the other person to take the first step, so that you don't have to feel these feelings, right? So this place of taking the first step to feel our feelings feels like death. Now, you know, when I work on like relationships in the way that I like teach, I hate the word teach, you know, we're all teachers, we all have medicine for each other, but facilitate the journey of relationship, I facilitate it within the 3 pillars of boundaries, expression of needs, and vulnerability. So going back to Aubrey, your question of, well, should I express my feelings to my partner because then they get really scared, or do I just keep it in? So keeping it in is what we've been doing. I'm guessing keeping it in is like the old strategy. It's like the old thing to do. And so when we express them with boundaries, taking responsibility for our feelings and vulnerability, then we get really good data about the other person and about the relationship. And then we know whether it's a good fit or not. But until we're able to take responsibility for our feelings and really take that first step and feel our feelings, we don't know. We don't know. It's a black hole, because when we want them to change, it's a total black hole about whether the relationship is like working or not working, because we're in this trap, we're in this control pattern. So yeah. So the work that I do with, Aubrey, what I would say is that if it's familiar, if the way that this is going is familiar, it's probably the old. Yeah. If something happened in a way that is new and it feels new, it might be something different that you're doing. But if it feels like all the time I'm expressing my feelings and the guys get scared or run away, or the women get scared, it doesn't matter. And there's this kind of always or never component to it, the superlative place, that indicates that you're in, that it's a story, and that it's the old pattern of strategy. Does that help? Does that resonate? So the journey that I work with people on in this one-on-one container, and we start out with 3 months because we really need a space to dive deep. Most of my clients, renew, but really this 3-month container is a really good time set to go deep and really understand these places in the way that we work, at least. And the way that we do it is that we go into these unsafe places within ourselves that don't feel safe, and we do it in a safe container. Yeah. And we go into our bodies, we go into a somatic experiences, we move energy, and we allow through somatic experiencing to feel our feelings and understand. Abhi was saying, yes, it definitely has been a new way of trying to do things differently and disrupt the pattern. It's just hard when it ends the same way because it confirms my old stories. So Abhi, I would love to hop on a clarity call with you and really try to understand what it is that's happening that keeps the story going. Yeah, like why the same old pattern keeps happening, even if you're talking about your feelings. There's something there that we can go into detail kind of individually. There's definitely something there. But feeling our feelings in our body allows a lot of intelligence. So, it's very, very, very common, and something that, a lot of my clients in the beginning, like, wow, I never knew I was sad. I thought I was angry all the time. But in fact, there's this sadness underneath the anger, Anger is a very intelligent feeling because it's the door which unlocks all the other feelings which are stuck, yeah? So we work it a lot also in the beginning, at least with this anger place. So we feel this, and our feelings are a container for consciousness. So the more we feel, the more energy we can hold in our body, and the more consciousness we can have about the present moment. Yeah, because when we're in the back, we're in story, when we're in history or the future, we're not conscious. Like, we think we're conscious because we have like a narrative happening, but we're not conscious. We're in story. We're totally in a story. The only time we're really, really conscious is when we're right here in the present. And when we're in the present, we feel. Yeah. So we learn to tolerate these really uncomfortable feelings, of anger, of sadness, of joy sometimes. It's like getting what we want, this place of joy, so scary. My God, sometimes we feel this joy and it's like, when is it going to be taken away from me? When is it, am I worthy of this joy? Can I hold on to it? Or is the rug going to be pulled from under me? And how we do one relationship is how we do them all. And I'm respectful of your time. I'm going to wrap up because I know these talks are a lot and they're also a lot to process. So I just want to kind of go back to where we started, which is, this is the journey of opening our hearts. Yeah, this is the journey of showing up in ourselves and saying, this is me, this is my sovereign. I am this, I'm open-hearted. I can tolerate my feelings and be in connection with you at the same time. It's a journey of learning how to not give yourself away and stay in a relationship at the same time. And that is really about feeling our feelings and learning how to do that. Is really unsafe, and that's why we need a safe container for it. And this is the journey that like I've been on, and still am. It's a journey that doesn't end, because love and consciousness are limitless. And it's also a journey that I've been trained and continue to train in facilitating and helping people on. And how we do one relationship is how we do them all. So how we stay in relationship with our partner is how we feel at work, how we feel with our friends. It's the same. How we stay in relationship is just that the intimate relationships, stuff comes up. Partnership is there. Whichever way we do partnership, it's the place that takes us on a journey. It's the spiritual component of relationships that is the heart opening one. So how does that sound, everyone? Yeah? So I also want to kind of bring it back to that if you're really interested in this, if things haven't been working for you, if you've tried different things and you get the same result and you're still in this rinse repeat, and you're like, I am ready to do things differently. Like, I love my bandwidth of like who I work with, like my like ideal client thing. Like, my bandwidth is folks that are really like, I'm done with the old. I'm done with the old and I am ready for this journey. Yeah. And that takes showing up. Like, showing up is 80% of the work. It's hard to show up. It's scary. Like, my job is not to leave you feeling better, at the end of the 60 minutes. A lot of times people do feel better. They feel so much better. But my job is to give insight into these patterns. And at least in the beginning, it feels a lot. And feeling is hard. So it can be hard, but it's so much gifts. And at the end, these gifts really open up just new planes of experience. Absolutely. So I only have 2 spots left in my container right now. And I would really, I'm really looking for those people that are really ready to do things differently, like really ready to step into a different way of relating. And this is the work that brings me joy and brings me fulfillment. And it's just so like incredible to do with people and to support people on their journeys of this type of transformation. And to see the transformation, like to see people actually start doing things differently, get the relationships that they've wanted, and then have feelings around that and open hearts more and more and become more sovereign, become more able to not get overwhelmed, not get like stressed out, not resort to old habits, old ways of doing things, do things differently. And Mimi says, the relationship I'd like to work on the most is with myself. Absolutely. So I think like the last 3 days, all of this has been about the relationship with myself, feeling my own feelings, feeling my own body, understanding my own wounding, understanding my own strategies of how I do relationships, and taking responsibility for my own feelings and showing up in relationship in a different way. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about, maybe, showing up in relationships in a different way. Me, I'm doing this. I'm not expecting the other person to change. I am changing. I'm investing in myself. I'm taking this journey for myself. Yeah, and when I take this journey, I attract people who are also taking this journey or who are willing to be taking this journey or are more conscious. The more conscious we get, the more we're attracting this type of consciousness. And this is the journey. And when we take this journey together, it is really, really healing. It's healing, for ourselves. It's healing like all of this ancestral stuff that is just so deep. Aubrey says, do you think people can have these types of attachment issues with their children also? Oh my God. Like, it's not that they can have, it's that they do have. And this is the thing. This is the thing, you know? Our caregivers had these issues with us. If we don't do our work, we have these issues with our kids. The kids have, this is how the ancestral trauma gets, you know, passed down from one generation to another generation to another generation. You know, be quiet. Don't get angry. Stay in the corner. Go to your room and don't come out until you're not angry anymore. I don't want to see your anger. Your anger is not allowed in this house. You know, learning how to be a good little boy or girl. If I do the dishes and I do all the things that are wanted from me, and if I people please and take care of my mother and father, or just my mother or just my father, I'll get love. Absolutely. This is all of this starts in childhood, really early childhood. And this is what we take with us into our adult relationships. And if we have kids and we didn't do our work, we pass it down to our kids very unconsciously. Absolutely. So, you know, for me, for example, for those of you who like know me personally, you know, I've done therapy, you know, since I was like 16. I've had my own issues, my own dark places. But this type of work, like the really deep relating work that I'm talking about right now, I hadn't really done. So I was married. I was in this pattern. I was lashing out. I was very unconscious. I was waiting for the other person to change so that I could feel better and not feel my feelings. And, you know, I had kids with my husband. And I realized that my kids were being subject to the same stuff that I was subject to when I was a kid. The same type of unsafe environment, the same type of shit for all. I'm not going to get into the exact shit, but the same type of shit. And that is what like really propelled me to do this work, because I didn't want my kids to inherit this stuff, you know? I wanted to show up for my kids in ways that my parents weren't able to show up for me. And that is what really propelled me to do the work, show up with my own feelings, take responsibility for my feelings. At the end, you know, I don't want to blame anybody, but at the end, that couldn't happen within the container of my marriage. And so that container got dissolved. And you know, I do a lot of work on myself. Like, I spend so much time and so much money, like, on self-healing and self-improvement. I mean, I'm not going to go into it really, but I don't really, as long as I can take care of my kids, this is like the priority after that, for me, because I want my kids to, I want to lessen the burden on my kids that they have to unravel. This is healing Mother Earth. This is healing ancestral trauma. This is healing our energy currents. This is healing the type of energy that we're anchoring on the planet. I mean, if we want to go bigger, this is the medicine, you know, healing our ancestral trauma within ourselves. So absolutely, it's about the kids, and it's about ourselves. Let's take a responsibility for us. Aubrey says, thank you so much for sharing. I also very much want to prevent passing these painful patterns down to the next generation. Absolutely. And I'd love to talk, Aubrey, more with you about this. So I want to wrap up. We're kind of coming to a close. Yes, break the ancestral trauma train. Absolutely. You know, if this is resonating with you, like, I want to just spend a couple of minutes. If you are resonating with this, if your body, if your energy field is resonating with this, and then there's a but, it's like, I really want to do this work, but I can't afford it. I don't have the time. I don't want to like get locked into a 3-month thing that I can't get out of. Some people have really, trouble about that. I want to explore what's out there. I want to see if like my insurance can get me the same thing. It cannot, okay? It can't. This isn't the type of work that the insurance providers do. If this is resonating with you in your body, in your system, and you're like a yes, and then there's a but, the but is the wounding, okay? It may not be resonating, and that is like so okay, and that you know this. This is great. And this is what the clarity calls are also about. Is it resonating or is it not? And if it's not between us, it's a lot of times it doesn't. Then, bless you on your journey. But if it is, and there are these buts, the buts are usually rooted in fear. They're usually rooted in a scarcity mentality. And the wounding around the buts is, if I give to you, I'm not going to have enough for me. If I give you money, I'm going to have less money. I'm going to be in a scarcity mode. If I give you my time, I may not be able to perform at work or do the whatever thing I want to do. If I sign up for your 3 months, I'm not going to have the freedom to do whatever else I want, like I'm going to feel trapped. So scarcity. And all of those scarcity places have to do with our inner child wounding. So it's like a catch-22. So as soon as you break out of that inner child wounding by just signing up, you're automatically like upgrading your energy field. And I've seen this in so many clients. I used to do like 1 session at a time with people. And some people like, they didn't show up every week. They kind of questioned the thing. As soon as they broke through and signed up for 3 months, showed up every week, deep work, deep self-awareness, like huge, huge energy strides and progress. So all my blessings. I am going to announce the winner of the week intensive with me. I'm going to do a drawing based on the type of comments and the comments that people have been submitting next Friday, to allow a chance for the people who are watching on replay to do as well. So all my blessings. Keep the questions coming if you have them, and all my love. And I look forward to being in touch.